Awareness of ADHD symptoms are on the rise, but it can still be tricky for parents to tell if their children could be affected. The signs are now understood to be more complex and nuanced than the stereotypically naughty and disruptive behavior found particularly in young boys. An estimated 5% of children in the UK have ADHD, according to charity ADHD UK. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD is a condition affecting behavior, and people with it may have trouble concentrating. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental condition that impacts someone's attention, their levels of hyperactivity and impulsivity, explains Dr. Seb Thompson, consultant clinical psychologist at Signet Healthcare. Typically when someone has ADHD, they tend to struggle with their attention, with hyperactivity and with impulsivity, although it is possible to just struggle with symptoms from one of those, Thompson adds. Of course, every child has moments of impulsiveness and hyperactivity. Neither do kids have perfect concentration all the time, so how can you tell if someone is displaying ADHD symptoms? To mark October's ADHD Awareness Month, the Press Association talked to some experts. ADHD does not always look the same. There are common symptoms of ADHD, but it can show up differently within people. So, if another child has similar behavioral traits to yours and has had a diagnosis, that does not necessarily mean your child has ADHD too. At the same time, children could have very different behavioral traits, yet both have ADHD. Every child with ADHD will probably struggle with a unique set of difficulties, vertical bar, explains Georgia Kranaki, senior lecturer in developmental neuroscience at University of Central Lancashire. For example, one child might struggle with paying attention in class, another may struggle with managing their emotions. They find being still and quiet really hard. Hyperactivity is the most well-known ADHD symptom that can show up as fidgeting, impulsiveness and struggling to be quiet. Thompson explains, the hyperactivity and impulsivity difficulties associated with ADHD could include being unable to sit still without fidgeting, excessive restlessness, finding the quiet to be uncomfortable, difficulty engaging in tasks quietly, difficulties in turn-taking, impulsively saying or doing things without thinking through consequences, as well as a tendency not to consider the risks of behavior. Your child is often forgetful and loses things easily, Thompson says. If they are frequently misplacing or losing items, being easily distracted, appearing to be daydreaming, and having difficulties remembering to do tasks and difficulties following through with instructions, it may be linked with ADHD. You can tell your child is struggling if daily tasks are frustrating for your child. This could be a big indicator of ADHD. Imagine really wanting to pay attention to a conversation that is happening but your brain is not letting you, says Thompson. Imagine really wanting to focus on your homework, but your brain is not letting you. Imagine really wanting to sit and watch a TV program, or sit and eat a meal, or sit and relax and your brain is not letting you. The world can be a very frustrating place for young people with ADHD, particularly if they do not understand why their brain works in the way it does. They seem down or depressed. Thompson adds that kids with ADHD can often suffer with low self-esteem, depression and anxiety. He explains, young people who get frustrated by their difficulties may stop trying at school, or lose interest in their hobbies because they can't sustain the attention to take part. Seeking advice if any of the above is impacting your child's well-being and making things seem hard for them, or if you are concerned they may have ADHD, then it may be worth seeking professional support. Diagnoses are typically given by specialist ADHD assessment teams, and referrals tend to be made via schools or Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, CAMS. Don't miss the latest news from around Scotland and beyond. Sign up to our daily newsletter.